Hello everybody, how's it going? Our lesson today about while loop. Before we take for loop, and today we will have while loop. I will explain in this lesson the difference between for loop and while loop. But before we go to explain the difference between for loop and while loop, let's go to see the syntax of the while loop. Alright, the syntax of while loop, it's easy as you saw on the screen. We start with while keyword, and after that we open brackets. We put our condition between these brackets that belong to the while loop. Before we use for keyword, we want to create or we want to use for loop, we use for keyword. But because now we want to use while loop, we will use while keyword. All right, so we start with while keyword, open brackets, put our condition. If the condition is true, the command will go inside the body of the while loop and execute the code that exists between the while loop brackets. Here between these two curly brackets there is a code like the for loop, but this is while loop. The command, if the condition is true, the command will go to execute the body of while loop, which means the code that between these two curly brackets that belong to the while loop. So how it's work. The compiler first go test the condition. If the condition is true, as we said, the compiler will go to execute the while loop body, and the compiler will get back to test the condition. If it's still true for the second time, we'll go also to execute the while loop body, and again test the condition. If it's also true, we'll execute it for third time until the conditions become false. The compiler will exit the loop. If the condition it was false from the beginning, the compiler actually it will not get inside the while loop from the beginning and will pass it and go to finish the rest of the code of the program. And now let's go to see what is the difference between for loop and while loop. All right, this is the for loop, and we already know it. We use for keyword, open brackets, and we put our initializations, conditions, and update. So this program or this for loop, it will its output it will be from 1 to 5 because I less than 5, which means the condition it will be true for 5 times, and the compiler will print for me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because we every time call the I here in the for loop body, and the output of this for loop is from 1 to 5. And the while loop also we can use it to print for us many sentences or numbers like the for loop, but this is not the proper way to use while loop. The proper way to use while loop, I'll explain it now in seconds. This while loop it will do the same, or it will give us the same result of the for loop. For example, here we use integer data type I equal 1, and we create or we use while loop while, and we open brackets I less than or equal 5, please print for me I, which is it will be represented for first time 1, and I plus plus the update you do it inside the while loop. All right, not like here we put it between two brackets of the for loop. So I it will be 2, and we will check it for 5 times, and after that the compiler will exit after 5 times because the output of this while loop it will be from 1 to 5. So after 5 times the compiler will exit the while loop. But this is not the proper use for the while loop. We actually use the while loop to do validation, to validate the things, to make sure that the user going to insert the things that we wanted, to check if the user going to insert the thing that we actually wanted in our program. For example, if I want to make the user insert just positive numbers, I will use while loop. Let's take an example to understand it. Read a positive numbers. I will define integer data type and declare a variable number, not assign to it any value, and after that we will ask the user a question, please enter a positive number, and we will store it inside the number variable that actually it's empty, will not assign to it anything. If the user insert -5 and I don't want the user to insert negative numbers, -5 it's a negative number, I don't want the user insert any negative numbers, just positive numbers, here I can use while loop. While loop it will do for me validation to make sure or to check that the user insert just positive number. I will create while loop. I will use while keyword, open bracket, I will take the number that is stored inside it, the number, I will take the name of the variable that is stored inside it, the number, the negative number that the user actually already inserted, and I will say if the number less than 0, which means negative number, please display for the user on the console screen wrong number, please enter a positive number and wait till the user insert a positive number. But if the user for second time insert also a negative number, for example -15, so it will be stored inside the number, and the compiler will get back again to the condition of while loop and check if the number still negative or positive. If the number is still negative, the compiler for second time will display this string or sentence to the user, wrong number, please enter a positive number. So the user it will stuck inside the while loop until insert a positive number, and the program it will not finish, it will not complete unless the user insert a positive number. That's the proper way of using while loop. And after the user insert a positive number, the compiler will come to the while loop, to the condition of the while loop, check if the number is bigger and not less than 0. For example, let's say the user insert number 5. 5 is positive number, so it will be false, and the compiler will not go inside this while loop and go to complete the rest of the code of the program, which is we have this line of code, cout/in. The number that you insert is, we will call number, which is the variable name that you store inside it, the positive number, and will display it for console screen. And let's take another example. If I want to let the user insert number in range, for example between 18 and 45, because there is a lot of time if you want to apply for job or apply for visa, they told you in their website your age should to be between 18, not less than 18, not over 45. So we use while loop to do this validation for us. Let's take another example to understand more. For example, we create here a function, read number in age. The name of the function, it will be read number in age. This function from integer function, fundamentals data type. Integer read number in age, this is the name of the function. I can name it whatever I want, as we said before. And we give it two parameters, integer from, integer to. From, it will be 18, to, it will be stored inside it 45, for example, okay? And we define integer data type, number, cout, please enter a number between, from, which is it will be 18, to it will be 45, and we will wait until the user insert the number between this range. If the user insert less than 18, which means 17, 16, or over 45, which means 46, 50, 55, we will come here. We have a while loop to catch the user not to insert number out of this range. So we'll build a while loop. We will come here, we will build this while loop, and we will say in the condition of the while loop, if the number less than from, which is 18, or the number greater than 2, which is 45, please display these strings to the user on console screen. Wrong number, please enter a number between from, which will be, as we said, 18, and 2, which is it will be 45. And this it will stuck between this while loop. Enter the user insert a number in the range or between the range that we created as a developer according to the program that we will build it for the people. If it was a school, it was NBC, if it was like anything you build it and it's need a validation, you will use while loop. And when the user insert number between the range that you wanted as a developer, as we said 18 and 45, the function to return this number with this name variable number, because its function we have to do what? We have to do return, and we return just one value. So the number it will be returned with the name of the function. And now let's go to code, to Visual Studio, to understand more, to practice more on while loop. Alright, this is our code. We have here for loop and we have here while loop. Both of them, for loop and while loop, here they will give me the same results. For example, this for loop it will display for me numbers from 1 to 5 by using for keyword, open brackets, and do initialization, integer I equal 1, I less than 5. So the condition it will be true of this for loop for 5 times, and each time the compiler will go inside the for loop, body for loop, and execute the code inside it, which we called it here I, and I represent different number each time because we increase it in update of the for loop. So this for loop it will display for me for numbers from 1 to 5. This while loop also will display for me numbers from 1 to 5 because we define an integer data type x and we assign to it. Number 1, we use like while loop by using while keyword, open brackets, x less than 5. So this condition it will be for 5 times true. The compiler will execute the x, which is represent different number each time because we'll increase x inside the while loop body each time when the condition is true. So both of them, both these things, for loop and while loop, will give me or display on console screen numbers from 1 to 5. Let's do run to check it out together. Perfect. The for loop that we built it's display for us numbers from 1 to 5. That's perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And also the while loop display numbers from 1 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But as we say, this is not the proper way to how use the while loop. The while loop, we use it to validate something, to catch the user and let the user insert something we wanted and nothing wrong or nothing else. Let's do first comment to this code. Come here down, do uncomment for this code to know how we can use the while loop in a proper way. Uncomment this code. Perfect. What we have in this code, we have integer main function, and we define integer data type. We declare a variable called number. Cout, please insert a positive number, cn number. As I mentioned it now a minute ago in the slides, I said if you want to let the user insert specific things in your program, for example, I want the user just insert positive numbers, I will use while loop. For that, we use while loop. We'll not use while loop to print sentences or names many times. If you want to print something many times and I know how many times I want to print it, I will use for loop. If I don't know how many times I will print it, I will use while loop, and in the same time while loop do validation for the things that we want to do for it validation. For example, here I want the user insert positive number, so I will build a while loop by using while keyword and open brackets number less than 0. If the number less than 0, which means negative number, and I don't want the user insert negative numbers, I want the user insert positive numbers. So I will I will display to the user on console screen, wrong number, please insert a positive number. When the user insert a positive number, the compiler will not go inside this while loop and will pass it and directly finish the rest of the code, which is this line of code. The number that you inserted is blah blah blah. Let's do run and test this code together, see if it's work or not. I hope it will work. For sure it will work. Don't worry. You with Sam, perfect. Please insert a positive number. Let's say as a stupid user, you know me, everybody know me, I'm a stupid developer, always acting as a stupid because I want to test my programs. While the program tells me please insert a positive number, I will insert a negative number, -3. Wrong number, please insert a positive number, Sam. Alright, I'm acting for a second time as a stupid user, -5. -5 is still a negative number, not positive number. And the compiler display for me, wrong number, please insert a positive number. Alright, this time I will act a little bit smart. I will insert a positive number, for example, number 5. And I will press enter. When I press enter, should the program display for me the number that you insert is 5. That's correct, and the program is finished. We use while loop actually, as we say, to do validation or validate some things that we don't want the user pass it or do anything wrong in our program. For example, there is some programs, embassies, or some programs for companies. Sometimes the companies, when they drop jobs, they want their candidates, their ages should be between 18 and 45. If you are less than 18, you cannot apply for this job. If you are over 45, you cannot apply for this job. So while loop, it's help us to do this validation in the programs that we want to build it for our people. For example, application for embassy, some immigrants program also, you cannot apply for it. For example, if you are less than 18, you still not allowed you to travel to this country. And if you also over 45 or 55, you're already old enough, they don't want you, for example, to work in a specific state in America or Australia or wherever. So we use while loop to do this validation to let our program work in peace and perfectly without any problems. And at the same time, as we said, all this code for validation that we write it now, we could put it in function and we could make our function generic. Instead, we build it every time for each application. We build it one time and put it in our library. We will know how to build our library in future. But we build it one time, this function, and we put the while loop and the logic inside this function. For example, we name it readNumberInRange. And this function will be generic. We will use it in different applications. For example, application we build it for embassy, application we build it for company, application we build it for traffic police station programs. So always we will make our functions generic. Not all the function can make it generic, but there is a lot of function we could build a generic, and we just save it in our library and we use it whenever we need it. So let's do comment to this code and go down a little bit and do a comment to this code to know how we can build a generic function for our while loop code. Okay, perfect. What we have in this code, we create a function, we name it readNumberInRange, and we create two parameters belong to this function, integer from, integer to. We'll not assign to this from and to variables anything, we just declare them, will not assign to them any numbers. And here we use the same logic before, integer number, please insert a number between from, that it will be, for example, 18 or 5 or -5. It depends about the program, what your program need. Could put the number in the parameters later in the main function, starting from. For example, I want the people that apply for this job starting from 18, and also their age shouldn't be over 45, so I'll put 45 in 2. We will see right now how it will be. So in case the user inserts 17 or 46, something less than 18 and something over 45, so we will catch him in this while loop. We will say while the number less than 18, for example, from, or the number greater than 45, for example, 2, we will display for the user this syntax or string, wrong number, please insert a number between. From, it will be, for example, we say 18, and 2, it will will be, for example, 45. And when the user insert the correct number or number between the range, our range, for example, 18 or 45, for example, 33, the function will return the number with the name of the function that will use it down in the main function as we see it now. All right, now I have generic function. I will close it. In main function, I will just have one line of code. The number that you insert is readNumberInRange. Here in the parameters, I will let from 18 and to 45. So let's do run to this program to see how it's gonna work, to check it together. Perfect. Once we did run to this program, the compiler display for us this question: please insert a number between 18 and 45. All right, I insert 17. Look, the compiler display for us these strings that exist inside the while loop. The while loop now catch us as a user. The while loop catch me. Wrong number. Please insert a number between 18 and 45. Why 18 and 45? Because I put in the parameters of the functions, I put from, I let from store inside it 18, and 2 I stored inside it 45. So I cannot now insert number out of this range, out of 18 and 45. If I insert, for example, 46, also the compiler will display for me the same strings. Wrong number. Please insert a number between 18 and 45. Okay, let's insert right now 33. This number, it's between the range. All right, 33, it's between the range. Let's press enter. The compiler should display for me the last line of code, which is this string. The number that you insert is 33. So for that, we use while loop, and that was the lesson of today, guys. I want you to practice on these things more on for loop and while loop, and we have just around 3 to 4 lessons of this course, and we will finish it and we will jump to the third course. So that was for today. See you next lesson, guys. Ciao.